Thank you for joining us today as we review the alumni interview and all the elements of the interview that is so important in our admissions process. You'll hear from various admissions officers as they review key elements of the process, and hopefully will answer questions you might have about how important it is and how to carry out a successful interview.
When our interviewers and our alums are able to have contact with the students, I think that they're actually the front line, and they represent the university in a way that the student thinks it makes all the difference in the world, but also it's a point of contact that they can ask questions and it can be an exchange. If at all possible, our alums can continue to update themselves with new initiatives on campus and to keep current with the news and things that are going on. It just makes that interview all the more rich just with the exchange of information.
There are really, I think, two categories of changes that are exciting. One is a whole element of programmatic change. And Penn continues to try to bring the academic and the social aspects closer together so that it's a very integrated experience. We try to think of it as one big adventure in living and learning. The other is, of course, all of the building, revitalizing, constructing that's going on here at the university and in partnership with the neighborhood.
The biggest changes I've seen, besides the obvious physical changes, is the feeling that the campus is one unified campus. What I love, the feeling that a student can be a computer science major, take marketing courses, be an anthropology minor, and still take courses in the School of Nursing.
The great changes that took place over the last couple of years at Penn fall into three categories. The College House is a comprehensive living learning program system. The Wheel Project, providing academic support when you need it and where you live. Finally, the Hub programs, so far the Writer's House and the Civic House. It's no longer possible for students to come to Penn and take the 32 to 38 courses and make that the sum total of their academic experience. As a faculty member, I've had the privilege to see that students who go well beyond that, who create co-curricular opportunities in all the hours where they're not in class, succeeded wildly.
Well, of course, I'm struck as I walked just to the bookstore today with all of the developments that are happening. And if you're not at Penn on a weekly or monthly basis, there's no way you can keep up with everything that's going on. The Gazette is a wonderful way to keep up with what's going on. The website of the Daily Pennsylvanian will keep you in the loop about everything, both positive and negative. The website, I think, is something that the university is very committed to promoting.
It's important for the interviewer to just know that as long as they can answer students' questions, let students talk, and listen to what they have to say, it really is a way and an opportunity for them to express things that we can't draw from the application. Truly, we're not asking interviewers to evaluate their credentials, to look at numbers, to figure out what their grades have been over the last 4 years. We want them to capture just a bit of their personality, to have a flavor of what their life is like, just a day in the life of the student.
After a student applies to Penn, we will generate a contact form. The contact forms are then sent to the SSC chair for the closest town or city to that student, and the chair is asked to send that contact form to the alumni volunteers in that community. These contact forms will have the student's name, address, telephone number, and also email address if it's available.
When someone's setting up the interview with a prospective student, it's important to remember that they're only 17 years old, and they have lots of commitments. Some of the more sophisticated may have date books, but not all of them are going to have calendars or date books handy. And so ask them to write down the information, give them your phone number, give them a place that they can contact you a couple of hours before the actual interview, should something happen in their lives that they're not able to keep the commitment.
When I was an interviewer, and again, I feel like I'm dating myself here, I did actually interview students in my apartment, and now looking back, I can't believe I was that naive.
I think it's important to choose a neutral location because you don't want either the alumni interviewer or the interviewee to feel as though you're on his or her own turf. And so, in that respect, places like coffee shops, places like bookstores, office conference rooms, the food court at the mall, the school setting is sometimes comfortable for students.
So I knew I'd be in good hands when I got there. And the interview was very, very smooth. It was more of an alumni conversation, an alumni interview. You know, she wasn't grilling me about my ambitions or anything like that. I got to ask her a lot of questions too, which I really, really appreciated. It's very nice.
Let them know that this is going to be an informal conversation. This is not something or an occasion or a forum in which we hope to stump the candidate. I think the friendlier you are at the beginning, the better the likelihood that that meeting will go well. Because a candidate who feels positively after he or she hangs up the phone is more apt to enter that room positively. Somebody that feels intimidated, and mind you, they already begin with a level of intimidation because you're calling them, is going to be just a bundle of nerves. And so I think you have to be overly solicitous. Even though they're very bright, they're still adolescents.
I think the biggest thing with the interviews is to realize how nervous high school students are. This is such a big deal going from high school to college. Everyone wants to go to the first college of their choice. And just to make them feel at ease in the interview, because it's the most nerve-wracking situation.
But the interview is going to be less skewed, much more pure. I think if A, the parents are not in the room to influence the students, and B, the parents are not in the room to contribute to the conversation.
In addition, we do ask that interviews be conducted in English. For many of our students for whom English is not their native language, we do want to find out how comfortable they are conversing in English, and we try to get an understanding of their English speaking abilities. So please be sure to conduct those interviews in English.
The objective of this interview is to have the interviewer bridge a relationship with the candidate. That's not always going to work. But at the very least, the person should walk out of that room feeling good about Penn. So I think it's very important to check your biases at the door. If there is a type of person that you particularly don't mesh with, it's 45 minutes. And we would appreciate it if you would put on a smile, put your best foot forward, and treat that person as you would want to be treated if perhaps you walked into the room and they were your interviewer.
It's nice because it was very disarming. You showed up and it wasn't as formal as some of the other interviews for other schools that I'd had, where you come in, you sit down, they get out their pad and they say, okay, I have to ask these questions. What was your SAT score? What 3 words that describe you best?
When they enter your office or when you meet them at the cafe, just talk about common experiences or just talk about things that will not make them nervous and issues that they feel comfortable with, and they will feel more comfortable responding. And I think that that's the best way you can really have a window to their personality. It's a way that you can begin to see their light and have them shine.
I think it's very important to ask open-ended questions because that allows the dialogue to continue. It invites a conversation. And the more open-ended, the better off, in fact, one will be in having a dialogue that lasts more than 20 or 30 minutes.
I like to find out what the students are interested in doing outside of the classroom, not in terms of a laundry list of their activities, but in terms of why, what prompted them to join particular activities.
And good follow-up is important too. If you're on a roll about a particular subject matter, go with it.
What really helps me is not the listing of extracurricular activity or jobs held or grades. That I have in the application. I'm looking for how was the student's interest in Penn? Were they really interested in the university? Did they have a strong feeling that this is an institution they wanted to attend?
So you want to be enthusiastic about all schools. Penn in particular, because you know Penn, you can be enthusiastic about Penn. Chances are you don't know the other institutions as well as you know Penn. So it's best to just be supportive and positive and comment, though, about what you know is very good and comment about Penn.
If you can't answer the question that you've been asked, please feel free to refer the student to our office directly or to other sources of information that are out there, such as the website or our view book or our application.
I think it's nice for them at the end of the interview to invite them to ask anything that perhaps hasn't been shared, because oftentimes one may tick down a list of questions that's their own agenda and may miss an entire area that's important to that person.
Well, I think clearly the most important thing is to thank the student, because most of them are so busy. It is mind-boggling to see how much they try to fit into a week, let alone a day or an hour. But other than that, I think that follow-up is always nice, reminding the student that this is not, their enthusiasm about that student is no guarantee of their admission, since there are so many great kids applying. Unfortunately, we can't take them all.
Some alumni I've spoken to have said that writing an interview report reminds them of writing a paper, that they are submitting it to the institution from which they had thought they graduated. So they're worried that they're going to be reviewed. But don't worry, we're not reviewing your handwriting, your grammar, your spelling, or anything else. We just want your impressions.
One of the key things that I look for with the interview form, my recommendation, it does not have to be long. It just has to be clear. It has to be concise. Keep it to the one page.
It's not about what's on the contact sheet. It's about making that student feel great about their decision to apply to Penn.
The interview is often the last thing we'll be able to look at before we go into committee. And it's often nice, after we already know everything else about the candidate, to get that third voice from an alumni perspective or alumnus perspective that can really reinforce a lot of the good things we want to talk about that candidate when we're in committee. So it's sort of icing on the cake for a lot of the candidates that we certainly want to lobby for when we're in committee.
The interviews do make a difference, and I think that so often as we read an application, we don't get the full picture or portrait of a candidate. And for me, the alumni interviewer is often the only person that I know, the only person that actually has a connection with Penn, that is volunteering on behalf of his or her alma mater, and therefore brings, I think, a different perspective to this process. And so the candor, the honesty, the care, and what results from that interview is very important.
The fact that they contacted me for the interview really made me realize that in Penn's admissions process, they care about the people that they let in, not the numbers, not the grades, not the ratios of men to women or anything that they let in. They generally care about the type of person that they bring to the university. And I really appreciate that.
The university asks a lot of alumni. It might be through the development office, it might be through volunteer opportunities, it might be through mentoring an undergraduate, something like that. But this is one way that you can really touch future generations of students at Penn. It makes a large university a whole lot more human in scale.
We hope this program has been helpful to you. We hope it's answered many of the questions you have about the process, and that you have come closer to an understanding for and appreciation of what the interview really means in this process. It's a critical part of the selection of each class at the University of Pennsylvania, and you play a critical role in helping us make the very best decision. So from all of us in the admissions office, thank you to each and every one, and again, look forward to another good year ahead.